Gator Dave. Week 1 is finally here, sir. How we feeling?
I'm feeling great, Mike. I'm so pumped. Are you ready for some football, baby? We are here. Week 1, finally. My goodness. We started that week 0 off like, I don't know, fingernails on a chalkboard with that Iowa State Kansas State game. I kind of wanted to stick my finger down my throat. It wasn't a good start. So now we
Oh,
got real football. Now we got real football starting on Thursday
yeah.
night.
That Kansas State Iowa State game was atrocious. The
Oh,
first half was like watching paint dry. It was so
it
bad.
was horrible.
And
Oh,
the coaching decisions. I don't know if you saw some of those formations by Kansas State's defense, but I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was
e-
terrible,
every
terrible, terrible,
everything was
terrible,
bad. It was just all
terrible.
bad. It was all
Coaching
bad.
decision to go for it fourth down 3 on his own 30. Yeah, let's go ahead and
Yeah.
do that in the fourth
What a
quarter.
dumbass.
All right.
Unbelievable.
Anyway, yeah, we're throwing that week behind
Yeah. Bye
because
bye. Bye bye.
as we'll talk about later, once we do our final predictions for this week after the games, we'll throw up a recap so you can see how we did last week and what our picks are for this week and how we match up and how we're split off and whatnot with head to
Absolutely.
head.
Yes.
Real
Yes.
quick,
Yes.
Gator
So
Dave, I just want to shout out to shopcya.com, our sponsor. If you are going to any of the games that we're going to be talking about this weekend, make sure you grab a Shop CYA and head there to cover your assets. If you're going in, you got to have a clear plastic bag. There's a piece of paper in there to show that it's a clear plastic bag. Uh, Credit cards, wallets, licenses, car keys, other accessories that you don't want people to see or know about. Real easy. You just snap it back on once you go through security. Nobody sees what you got going on. It's a great way to cover your assets during these games and these live performances when there's a bunch of weirdo. A lot of tap to pay nowadays, Dave. So you don't
yep.
want people to
Yes.
necessarily get an easy target. So check them out, shopcya.com. But we got 9 games for you today. We just mentioned we had 3 last week. We normally have a full slate of 12, so next week we will have a full slate of 12 that we'll be talking. But this week we got 9. And Gator Dave, you're going to kick us off here with the first one, Thursday night's matchup at, I believe it's 5 p.m. Does that sound right?
Is it that
5,
early? My
5:30
goodness, we're
Eastern?
really starting off early, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
So, want to remind everyone that we're Bets Utopia, your #1 location for all things sports betting. And please subscribe, like, follow, all that cool stuff. Remember, we're here on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're on all the podcast stations now: Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We're all over the place now. So you can catch us anytime, any place after our show at 8 p.m. on Wednesday nights. All right. And you watch your show on Wednesday nights, you start your betting for Thursday. So this Thursday, August 28th, here we go. Boise State at USF. 5.5 is the favorite Boise here on the away turf. 62.5 is the over-under. So Boise State last year won the Mountain West with a 12-2 record. They finished the season ranked 7th in the nation. They bring back their quarterback, Maddox Madsen. What a name it is. But obviously the big loss is Ashton Genty, who's now going to be the starting running back for those Las Vegas Raiders. And by the way, Genty was 66% of the offense last year, just so you know. So, and they're
Wow.
losing that. But Madsen's a good quarterback. They got a couple of decent running backs coming in Gaines and Sherrod. O-line, 4 out of 5 returning starters. So obviously that's going to be good for those new or rookie running backs coming in. Wide receivers a little bit different. They lost a couple, so they're not as experienced there. In terms of the defensive side of the ball, they returned 3 or 4 defensive linemen, which that's going to be good for a good pass rush. Secondary and linebackers, not as much returning on that side or in that back 7. USF last year 7-6. They finished 90th in the polls last year, Mike. Your buddy Alex Golish, Mike's a big fan of Alex. He's now in his 3rd year at USF. They bring back their quarterback from last year who ended up getting hurt, missed a big chunk of the year, and that really wrecked their season. The interesting fact about Byron Brown is he's kind of one of those runners playing quarterback. He was only 53% completion rate last year for 836. Like I said, he was limited because he got hurt. He ran for 269, all that in just 4 games. Okay. The Bulls lost their all-time leading receiver in Sean Atkins. I think it's going to be a little tough to fill those voids at receiver, as well as lost their top 3 running backs. So, this one they've got as being a competitive game. There's not a lot of confidence in where Boise State is, because I think, in my opinion, 5.5 is easy money here. I really think the Bulls are going to take care of business, and I think they can win by 7, relatively easy. So when this line moved and Mike told me, I freaked out, but I'm really not freaked out, Mike. I feel confident that Boise State will cover those 5.5 points. What say you, sir? Yeah, with Mr. Golish. This is a Golish lover. Bye, guys. Go ahead.
So Gator Dave, I don't know if you caught it. I don't think that you did, but maybe our listeners did. There was a little bit of a Freudian slip there. You said the Bulls should win this one by 7.
Oh, did I say Bulls? I meant Broncos. My bad.
Yeah, well,
Broncos.
So here's the thing. I actually think you're right. I think it's the Bulls. I think the Bulls have a shot at winning this one outright, believe it or not. I'm not a huge fan of the 5.5. If you can get it up to 7, find it there. It was there earlier in the week. It was there earlier in the offseason. I think it was as high as 10.5, somewhere around there at some point. So the numbers come in on South Florida to justify that. You mentioned everything on paper, why Boise State should win this game, and you're right. They should win this game, but the problem is they did lose all of their offensive production with Ashton Jeanty being gone. And here's some numbers for you here on this one, Gator Dave. So this is just the first time that Boise State has been playing in the state of Florida since 2021. The last time they were there, they lost to Central Florida when they played them. This is the 5th straight year that Boise State is opening their season on the road. In their last 4, 1-3, straight up and against the spread in their last 4. They've lost their last 2 to American Conference opponents, and this is the first time they're ever playing South Florida. The biggest thing for me is, doesn't it feel good outside right now, Dave? It felt great today. I think it was like high 75, sunny.
Nice,
it was beautiful.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Tonight it'll get down to low, 52, 53, a little chilly. That's why we got the hoodie on. A little chilly outside, Dave.
Yeah. All right.
So if you look at the Boise, it's real chilly out there right now. Not a lot of humidity in Boise either. And you know where they're going for a 5 o'clock game? Tampa.
The heat of Tampa, baby.
It's supposed to be 90 degrees and nice and humid. It's supposed to rain. It's supposed to be sticky. So that's what I'm going with. I think I'd also tend to lean probably towards the under here if I had to go with one, but I just don't trust these teams enough. I am going to go with the home team. I'm going to go with the healthy quarterback. You mentioned him. He is a game changer. I am not a fan of Alex Golesh. Golesh. You got to put a little something.
Oh, excuse me. Golesh. Is that like some kind of a French crap, Mike?
Oh, I have no idea. Golesh. But you got to, it just feels right, doesn't it? So I'm not a fan of him. But I think South Florida has a chance to potentially win this one, but I like them more likely to cover. I think that they're probably going to be winning in this game. Boise's going to make a comeback, take the lead, and it'll probably end up being like a 3-point game, which is why I think you're safe at the 5.5. But if you can get to 7, 7.5, that's definitely the safer way to go. Give me South Florida and the Bulls plus the 5.5 here, Gator Dave.
All right. All right. All right. Let's go to one of my favorite games of the week. And there's three games that I'm just loving on, maybe even four that, that let's see. Let me get my coin and see what I can do. So, all right, here we go. Friday night, August 29th. We got the Auburn Tigers going out to Baylor. And it'll probably be hot at Baylor, but Auburn's used to the heat. Um, so Auburn is getting 2.5 in this game. Over under is at 58.5. So both teams higher expectations. Let's put it that way. Baylor, a lot of folks think, including Mike, that they can win the big 12 out there, right? They won their last 6 games last year. Plenty of returners. Auburn, on the other hand, they got to bounce back from a team that only won 5 games, 5-7 last year. So, um, Mr. Freeze is on the hot seat, in my opinion. So he's going to have to freeze the Baylor Bears to get off to a right start. So Auburn finished ranked 83rd last year, and Mr. Freeze is in his third year. He did beat Saban back when he was coaching Ole Miss. All right. So had you there, didn't I, Mike? So Tigers returned 6 starters on offense, 5 on defense. They bring Jackson Arnold in from Oklahoma. Um, they probably got one of the best wide receiver rooms in the SEC, at least on paper. We'll see what they can do with JA. But they really do. They got some good receivers out there. So look for that, and if Arnold can make a difference. Baylor was 8-4 last year. Like I said, they won the last 6. They finished 35th. They returned 8 on offense, 5 on defense, which is pretty good. They returned their starting quarterback, Sawyer Robinson, who threw for over 3,000 yards last year, 28 touchdowns. Quite impressive. The backfield returns 1,700 yards between the 2 starters that are coming back. They grabbed a number of players out of the Power 4 from the portal. But I'm going to use one of Mike's stats. I'm going to go back a little. The Bears haven't beaten a top 25 team in 3 years. They are 0-10. That's why they're home underdog versus the SEC team in week 1. Bears do have a high-powered offense. I think it's gonna be a very competitive game. Aranda's squad has depth, but I really think this one comes down to that talent thing. Auburn does have more blue chippers. And I think with Freeze being on the hot seat, I flipped around on this one, but I really do think I told all my Auburn fans late this afternoon I'm going with them. So I'm going War Eagle. And Auburn in the money line here.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they do have some depth on the O line. They got some experience. You mentioned it. They have one of the better wide receiver cores in the nation this year. They got the transfer coming in from Georgia Tech, Eric Singleton, partner
like
him with
him.
Cam Coleman. That's a pretty dynamic duo just with those 2 guys alone. The problem with me and this Auburn team is I've seen a lot of reports, lately about Jackson Arnold and him not being able to get the ball out to find his open guys. His receivers are getting open, but he seems scared to fail, scared to turn the ball over, and in turn, he's not being able to find the guys that he needs to, taking unnecessary sacks. We'll see how much of that is, just hubbub and, when they strap him up Friday night. But for me, that's enough based off of what we saw with him at Oklahoma. It doesn't sound like much has changed. And I thought him going down, being with Hugh Freeze, who seems to be a typical, kind of QB guru at times, that he would have got him right. But it seems like it's going to take a little bit longer than what they need in this first game. The next 2 games they have Ball State and South Alabama, so much more formidable for him to get more comfortable, and they're both at home, whereas this one's on the road in Waco. So for me, I am going to go the home team. I'm going to go Baylor. You mentioned when you were discussing it, I do have Baylor winning the Big 12. And for me, this is the game that kind of propels them and projects them towards that path with full steam ahead confidence. So go ahead and give me the Baylor Bears plus the 2.5. But I do like them probably outright to win this game. 2.5 is one of those numbers. It's pretty subjective. Right around those three, you could probably go either way. But to be on the safe side, give me the two. Especially in this day and age with the 2-point conversion and overtimes now, the way that it
Yeah.
is, give me the 2.5. I'll take it.
All right. Cool deal. Well, I got need to say hello to my lovely wife, Nirvana, giving us the old go dogs. All right. Um, all right. We're going to move at Mike's direction to Monday night for the TCU at North Carolina. The debut of the GOAT and North Carolina. So TCU's getting 3.5 points. Over under is 56.5. So TCU had a decent year last year, 8-4. They were this in the regular season. They returned 4 on offense, 5 on defense. They got their QB coming back, another stud from the Big 12, Josh Hoover, 39-49 on yards and 27 TDs. He did throw 11 interceptions. QBR of 159, which is pretty impressive because we talked about that the whole boy from LSU and it's like 119. So all right, still thinking about that one. All right, let's get back focused, Dave. So run game for TCU, a little bit of a question mark. Who steps up? We got Kavarian Brands, the transfer from UTSA, who are they speculating is going to be the starter. He only had 221 yards last year, but that looks like who their starter is. So we'll see how that goes. Defense should be good. They've got the Deal brothers. You like that? We got 2 different brothers on the defense for TCU. Kid named Bax is also good this year for the pass rush. So they got a pretty good D line. I think they're gonna do well in that regard. TCU signed the highest recruiting class that they ever have, Mike. It was best in the Big 12, highest in school history. They had 6 4-stars. I know that for us with Miami and Florida, it's like 6 4-stars. The coach would get fired, but for TCU, that's a pretty big deal. So obviously they're making headway, and the class is obviously going to provide some impact to the team when you got 4-stars coming in. North Carolina, Bill Belichick, 6-6 last year. They returned 6 starters, Mike, and we talked about this in the early part of things. How this Belichick said he's only got 20 players from the team from last year. Everybody else is brand new. So I think that's going to come into play in this particular game. I don't care who the coach is. I mean, if 75% of the players on the team are brand new coming in, I think that's an issue when you're playing against a team that's been together, that's got a stud at quarterback. Now, the ace in the hole could be Gio Lopez. Granted, he's the transfer from South Alabama. I mean, we think a lot of him, but we're kind of local. I imagine if you were to talk to somebody from TCU, they go, who has Gio Lopez? He did throw for 25, 59, 18 TDs, had 465 on the ground last year. So we know he could be good, but how is that transition going to be coming into big boy league? Anything can surprise me here. I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting game, and it could be a fun game to watch with Belichick at the helm, obviously. But give me TCU to cover the 3.5 here, Mike. And by the way, what's up, Scott?
Appreciate you hopping in the chat, Scott. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Listening on the podcast, give us that 5.0 rating. Like it. Download it, follow us, make sure you don't miss a minute. We appreciate you watching. But yeah,
Mike, Mike, we're 5 stars on we're 5 stars right now. Our rating is is at 5
Hey,
stars on Spotify, sir. So
hey, look
good
at
job.
you. Look at you.
It's you. It's you.
Uh, so I was back and forth on this one. This is another one that's going to come down to kind of like the extracurriculars to me. It makes sense on paper to go one way, and I'm kind of going the other way for the off the field stuff. And for me, I do like Gio Lopez a lot for quarterback for North Carolina. I think he's going to be successful there. He's only a junior, so he can come back even one more year in Bill Belichick's system next year once they get a little bit more accumulated, once he gets a little used to what's going on. If you watched our ACC preview show, I had North Carolina going 9-3, and for me, this is one of these losses. Um, their offensive line is experienced. They have that going for them. They got 4 seniors on the offensive line. Their center, I believe, is I think he's a redshirt sophomore. So they have experience up front. But you mentioned it. They have a lot of new guys. And one of the things with football, it's a team sport. You rely on the guy next to you. One guy doesn't do his job, the whole play could falter. So I don't know if that team chemistry is there yet. I didn't really get the vibe from Belichick when he was with the Patriots that they had a good, loose, young chemistry type of thing. So depending on what type of kids he has there and what type of kids he brought in through the portal, have they bought all the way in yet to being running it like a business, per se, like the NFL does? Has Bill Belichick changed his ways? I don't know. But on the flip side, I think this is motivation for TCU as well. All they've heard about all off season is this is Bill Belichick's debut and how they're going to just get steamrolled because he's the greatest NFL coach of all time and he's going to come in there and yada, yada, yada. That 100% is bulletin board material. They've been talking about it all year long at their camps. I think TCU comes in, is able to get it done. I'm gonna take them here. I'm gonna throw some numbers at you as well, just for shits and gigs here. Uh, Unfortunately for myself, the Tar Heels are 3-0 all time against TCU. They have not played in over 25 years though. Before TCU joined the Big 12, the problem for North Carolina is against current Big 12 opponents, they are 0-6 straight up. And last year, they went 0-7 against the spread in home games last year. So we'll see if Bill Belichick can change that at all. But man, I just don't think that another, you talked about Ashton Genty when we were discussing the Boise State game. This is another one, Marion Hampton. They lost 15 touchdowns, 1,700 yards. That's a huge, huge deficit in the ground game to account for. That's definitely going to be missed. It's just a lot of moving pieces for North Carolina. So, yeah, I'm going TCU minus the 3.5 here.
All right. I like it. I like it. I like it. You threw me for a curveball there, my friend. So I like it though. All right, next game. We've got Old Dominion at Indiana, and Indiana's getting 23.5 points. Over under 54.5. And Mike's like, man, I want to bet this one. I'm like, that's a lot of points. All right. So Old Dominion finished the season last year at 5-7 in the Fun Belt Conference. They defeated Texas State and Georgia Southern. And they almost beat South Carolina at South Carolina, 23-19. But a couple of issues. Giving up 400 yards in every game on the defensive side. The preseason has the Monarchs ranked 102 out of 136. Not expecting a lot. Offense, they got Colton Joseph, expected to be the starter last year at 16-27, 11 TDs, 5 interceptions, ran for 647. So we got a running quarterback, so that should make things interesting. Complete overhaul at the wide receiver and tight end positions, all transfers, everybody left. They also lost Aaron Young, their running back. I think they're going to have a lot of issues with folks gelling. I mean, the only thing they got going for them is this quarterback that can maybe run the ball a little bit. Indiana last year, 11-1. They went to the playoff. They returned 8 starters from last year, which isn't a whole lot. They got the Cal transfer Fernando Mendoza, who last year threw for 3,000 yards, 69%, 16 TDs, and 6 interceptions. I really like him better than the quarterback they had last year, to be honest with you. O-line returns 3, which is awesome on the O-line. 3 transfers coming in. One of the guys is actually from Notre Dame. D-line, they got Kamara, who had 10 sacks, 3 fumble recoveries. They do have most of the rest of the defensive linemen are relatively new. Running back, they returned the number 1 running back in Justin Ellison. He had 843 yards last year, which is pretty good. And they got Roman Hembry that they bring over from Maryland, who ran for 607. So they're set at running back, in my opinion. 2 receivers. Surratt had 957 last year. Omar Cooper, 594. So to me, you couple of good running backs, couple of really good receivers, and an upgrade in quarterback, in my opinion. I think these guys are going to score some freaking points. And this and our buddy, the coach, does not mind running the score up at all. I went back and looked at at the scores, and he doesn't care. He's going to keep that thing a running all night long. That's why I think Mike decided to bet on this game, because I think 23.5, I'm good with that, because I think it's going to probably be like 40-6 when it all comes down. So good call, Mike. Give me Indiana, and they'll cover that 23.5, sir.
Yeah,
hello, Evelyn Navorsky.
I think it's a layup, Dave. That's why I threw it on there. I know it's ugly. I know there's better games to talk about in this week's slate, but it's a layup. Let me tell you why. The Hoosiers, Kurt Cignetti, you mentioned it, old school coach, very Jimmy Johnson-esque. Shout out to my Canes. And shout out to your Cowboys. He will run it up on you if you do not stop him. They are not going to stop what they're doing just because you cannot stop them. For example, last year in Kurt Cignetti's first year at Indiana, when they went 11-2, best record in program history, they did numbers like this. They beat Purdue 66-0. They beat Western Illinois 77-3. They beat UCLA in Los Angeles 42-13. They beat Charlotte 52-14. They beat Nebraska 56-7. They beat Michigan State in East Lansing.
47.
Sorry, Matt. 47-10. They blow teams out with no problem whatsoever. 23.5 is a gimme. I like this up to 30. No problemo whatsoever. The Hoosiers, they have covered their last 6 straight home openers. They are 11-1 against the spread in their last 12 games when laying over 20 points. When they are over a 20-point favorite, they are 11-1 against the spread in their last 12. Last year, Kurt Cignetti, as a home favorite, went 7-1 against the spread. As an away favorite, they also went 3-0, just as a side note. Versus non-conference opponents last year, they also went 3-1 against the spread. Give me the Hoosiers in a layup, Gator Dave. Miami Mike, lock of the week.
Boom! Beat me to a lock. Boom. I
Boom.
love it. I love it, Mike. I love it. All right, next game. Another one of them close ones, but I think I'm all right with this one, Mike. This is a Friday night game. This is our local Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. They're getting 4.5 at Colorado Buffaloes, over under at 52.5. No Caleb in here. All right. So the Jackets last year, 7-5 in 2024. They finished at 34th in the land. They returned 5 on offense, 4 on defense. They got Mike's boy Haynes King coming back, 73% completion rate, 21-14, 14-2, ran for 587, 5.6 a carry, and 9 TDs he ran for. So very MVP-like. He definitely was for that team. They bring back senior running back Jamal Haynes. He doesn't get enough credit. That guy's a stud. 944, 9 TDs, ran for almost 6 yards a carry. Very impressed with that kid. Brent Key's done a great job at Georgia Tech. I'm kind of becoming a bit of a fan here with that guy. I think he's a strong, heavy personality. Busting heads, taking names, kicking ass, all that good stuff. So I like that guy. So very impressed with where they are at this point. I mean, Mike loves them, obviously picking them to win the ACC. So Colorado 9-3 last year. No, you didn't pick them. Who'd you pick? Second? Were they
I didn't pick
second or
them.
third, Mike?
I didn't pick them to win the ACC. Let's not get crazy.
You gave them. How many did you give them, Mike? Like 10 wins or something like that?
I have them finishing second, Dave.
Second.
10
Okay.
wins.
Excuse me.
10 wins.
10 wins at 10-2.
10 wins.
I don't like them. Just so everybody knows, I don't like them that much. All right. 10 wins, Mike. All right.
I don't know.
So Colorado 9-3.
He's talking them up.
I did a good job of talking them up that time. So Colorado 9-3 last year. Finished 24th in the polls. The Buffs returned 4 on offense, 4 on defense. Obviously, they lost their superstars in Shadir and Heisman Trophy winner gone. They're bringing in Caden Salter, Duther, quarterback from Liberty, will be the quarterback. He is starting for the Buffs coming into this game. It's pretty well decided at this point. Salter had a really good year 2 years ago. It wasn't quite as good last year. Colorado's defense showed some improvement last year. They bettered their numbers by like 10 points, so they made a lot of headway. They brought in a D tackle from Alabama, Jaheim Otis, should have some impact. But I think bottom line, they love Dion, obviously. They do anything for Dion, but in reality, I think him being away from the team for quite a bit since spring and now, it's going to have somewhat of an impact on the team being ready and clicking on all cylinders for this game. Granted, I think they can do a little bit better than I thought they were going to do for the year. But in this game, I think Tech's going to be ready. And I think that they can take care of business here and cover the 4.5 points. I don't think they're going to win by 10, but I think they could win by 7 and cover the 4 points. So I'm going to take a Georgia Tech to cover. What do you say, Mike?
I'm right there with you. As we were just mentioning, I'm very high on Georgia Tech this year. Real quick, shout out to Navoski and Evelyn in the chat. Hello. Evelyn, shout out to the Hoosiers. Yep, I did that for you. We love you. All right. So yeah, I'm with you though. Georgia Tech minus the 4.5. I like them up to 7 as well. I just think that they're the more experienced team in this situation. Colorado, you mentioned, obviously they lost Shedeur Sanders. They lost Travis Hunter on both sides of the football, but they also lost 2 or 3 other wide receivers, that went to the NFL draft. They lost some pieces off defense. Their offensive line should be the best that it has been since Dion is there. So, the quarterback will have that going for him because there still were sack issues last year, even with that much improved offensive line through the transfer portal. I just don't think that there's going to be enough. You mentioned Dion's off the field stuff going on. Obviously, we wish him the best. But that is, somewhat of a distraction. We don't necessarily know how much, he's been away from that and how much of a factor that really is going to be. But Georgia Tech, I just think that they're coming in with a mindset. Last year, Obviously, they beat Miami at home. They had some other good wins. They play Clemson at home in a few weeks. I think it's 2 weeks. They play Clemson at home. And then obviously they have a matchup with Georgia at the end of the year, which is a neutral site game at Mercedes Benz to finish it off. Those are really their two biggest games, but they got to get there. So this is what stepping stone. I'm with you. Give me the Yellow Jackets to get the cover here. I think I thought initially when we were looking at this game in the offseason that it was going to be probably a bigger deficit than probably what I
I
would
did
put it
too.
at now.
I did
I
too.
thought maybe like a 31-13 type of game, but I think it's going to be a little closer. There's something about it that feels, 34-27, 34-24. So maybe look at the over two if you're feeling risky, but I think Georgia Tech is the sure bet here, Dave. I'm with you.
All right. Very good. Very good. Awesome, Mike. All right, now let's get to another beep coin flip game. We have LSU at Clemson, so we got the battle of the Tigers. Tigers on Tigers. Clemson is now up to -3.5, of course. Hell, a couple of days ago it was like 2.5, and I was like, yeah, we got this. We got this. So I don't know. LSU 8-4 last year, ranked ninth this year. They got 7 starters returning, 4 on offense, 3 on defense. Blue chip ratio of 73%. QB Nussmeier coming back. He's everybody's Heisman guy. Ooh, yeah. 4,000 yards, Mike, last year, but dude was dumping it off a lot. Yeah. 29 TDs, 12 interceptions. Again, I'm not as sold as many on Mr. Nussmeier. So defense looks to be a strong point with return of Harold Perkins, Jacoby and Guillory. They also had some key transfers. Cornerback DeLand from Virginia Tech. DJ Pickett comes in as a 5-star DB. Defensive line, they got Patrick Payton. They stole from Florida State. And they stole Jack Pyburn from the Gators. So they kind of beef things up because we know their defense sucked last year, Mike. They also got a strong group of wide receivers, Aaron Anderson, Nick Anderson. I mean, it's pretty impressive. I don't know if they're as good as Auburn's on paper, but they might end up being there. O-line is going to be an issue for LSU. I talked about that when we talked about SEC. So I think they're going to be an issue. And I think, if Clemson can do Clemson things and rush and make it happen like the Gators did against LSU last year, I mean, Nussmeier was picking his ass off the turf at in the swamp last year. And I think that Dabo and his boys could easily do that in this game, and that's why I'm leaning where I'm leaning. Okay. Now, Brian Kelly. Mike, let's talk about the past. Brian Kelly is 6-20 against top 10 teams, Mike. Just so you know, a little nugget there. Clemson 9-3 last year. They're ranked 4th. The Tigers returned 16 starters, more than anybody, 8 on each side of the ball. Most in the Power 4. Heisman candidate again. So we really got 2 Heisman candidates going head-to-head. Cade Klubnik, he was 36, 39, 63%, 36 TDs, ran for 463 and 7 TDs. My pick for the Heisman. Blue chip ratio for Clemson is 55%. The O-line returns 4 of 5, which is pretty cool for Mr. Klubnik, keeping him upright. Wide receiver room stacked. Antonio Williams last year, 904 yards, 11 TDs, and he ran the ball 7 times for 100 yards. They got Junior Bryant Westco, 708 yards, 7.3 a catch last year. So, man, this is going to be a fun game. Dabo hired ex-Indiana coach Tom Allen to coach the defense, so I think that should straighten a few things out for the Clemson Tigers. Mike, I am going to go with, and is it 3.5 or 4, Mike?
The number
Yes,
is 4.
it is 4. That's what I thought. I said 3.5 in the beginning. I should have said 4. It is -4
How could you?
for Clemson, but I'm going to say they're going to cover it, folks. So I'm sticking with Clemson. What do you think, Mike?
I love it, Gator Dave. I love it. Clemson is one of the most experienced teams in all of college football. I believe they had something like 14 or 16 starters returning. Is that right?
16, sir.
16 starters.
16.
Their offensive line is stacked with experience. They have another stout defensive line. They just seem to pump out defensive linemen, every year. LSU, on the flip side, they have a ton of skill at the skill positions, ton of speed, ton of ability, filled with blue chippers, but they got the wrong guy leading the charge, Gator Dave, Mr. Brian Kelly. Let's talk about it. So Brian Kelly, since being at LSU, first off, LSU, for the numbers here, they are a great home football team. They are 55-11 over their last 10 years, matter of fact, playing in home games. And that actually dates prior to Brian Kelly also being there. But the problem is, in away games, they are just 25-19. Not too impressive. Under Brian Kelly specifically, since he's been there, this is his 4th year coming up, they are 19-2 straight up when playing games in Baton Rouge, just 7-5 in away games. This is where it gets really good. Under Brian Kelly, they are just 1-2 as an away dog against the spread. They are, when playing SEC opponents specifically, they are 11-13 against the spread. So just note that for when they start conference play coming up soon. Against non-conference opponents, they are just 9-6 against the spread. You mentioned how bad he is against top 10 opponents. Against top 25, he's 4-8 straight up. So not even much better there. I'm with you. It also didn't help that during one of his media days in the offseason, he said that they're going to prove why Baton Rouge is the real Death Valley, because both stadiums refer to their stadium as Death Valley Stadium. Clemson's going to be ready for this one. That place is going to be rocking. I've been to a game in Clemson. It is extremely uncomfortable to watch a game there. Their seats are this small, and you have about this much room, and it's nothing but orange, and it's not a fun place to be. LSU knows all too well about that with their home field advantage. They are going to learn what that means in this one. Brian Kelly, he's a terrible coach. Also, LSU, couple quick facts here. They've lost their last 5 season openers, and they are also 0-5 against the spread in those games, the last 3 being under Brian Kelly. Fade the LSU Tigers. Give me the real Clemson Tigers, the real Death Valley out of Clemson, South Carolina. Let's do it. Give me, you know what? Another, Dave. Put me down for another. Miami Mike Lock. Miami Mike Lock.
Oh my gosh,
two
Miami Mike Locks. Yes.
2 for out of nowhere.
Yes. I love it, Mike. I love it. Hey, that's a couple you've Miami Mike locked, and we both agreed on. All you bettors out there might be listening. That could be a winner chicken dinner. All right. Good call, Mike.
Love it.
All right. Next game. Another coin flipper. All right. Saturday, August 30th. We have number 1 against number 2. We got Texas.
You are all over the place. You are messing up the order, man. You are going all over the place.
Where
what
are we
supposed
to be, man?
Oh, my God. We're talking Bama, Florida State, Dave. We're saving that Texas-Ohio State. We're not going to Texas-Ohio State right now.
Snap. All right.
You jumped ahead with LSU Clemson. I'm not letting it happen again.
All right.
You're giving the producer – you see the veins popping? You see him?
Yeah, I got you.
Bama,
All right,
Florida
Mike.
State. What we got?
Thanks for getting me back on track. So we have
You're a Gator. I
Alabama.
understand.
I know. Cheers. We got Bammer playing at Florida State in their new and improved remodeled stadium down there at Doak. Alabama is getting 13.5 points. The over-under is 50.5. So Bammer's 9-3 last year, ranked number 8th in the polls. The Tide returned 14, which is not too shabby. 6 on offense, 8 on defense. Blue chip ratio of a mere 89%, meaning basically 90% of their dudes are 4 and 5 stars. Not too shabby. So they're bringing in their backup from last year, Mr. Ty Simpson. Not a lot of starting experience at all, but they feel very strongly about him. The offense boasts very talented wide receiver in Mr. Ryan Williams, coming in as a true sophomore, very strong last year. They got a good offensive line led by preseason All-American left tackle Caden Proctor. They are bringing in another little weapon, Mike. That is Mr. Grubb, who decided to go to the NFL, and he was like, "No, I'm going to go back with my daddy." So he's gone back to with his daddy there at the Tide. So Ryan Grubb comes in to be the offensive coordinator once again. And he's going to lead this offense. So Bama's defense, always their strength, particularly secondary is looking pretty good. Damani Jackson, Keon Saab, and Bray Hubbard. Defensive front looks pretty good against the run. Last year it was one of their Achilles heels, but I think they've shored that up this year. So we go to the other side of the ball, Mike. Not quite as merry over there. We've got FSU comes in at 2-10 last year, Mike. Not too good. Florida State returns a blazing 6 starters from that stud team last year. 1 on offense, 5 on defense. So Memphis Mike Norvell, he is 4-18 without Jordan Travis. And guess what? We got no Jordan Travis this year, Mike. So now they do have a good blue chip ratio at 54%, maybe by luck. Not sure if Memphis Mike knows how to deal with it. So they bring in Studley Thomas Castellanos. The reject from Syracuse got ran out of town because he wasn't a team player. Last year, he had 1366 on the yards, 18 TDs, 5 interceptions, a blazing QBR of 37.9, which was 112th in the nation. He did run for 194 yards, 2.1 yards a carry. A bright spot, they got Toafili coming back, who had 456 yards last year. He's a decent running back. 4.2 a carry, and he had 215 yards receiving. He'll probably end up doing well in the NFL, probably. Top 2 wide receivers, Douglas and Benson, are back, 519 and 311 yards last year. Not exactly tearing things up, but that's the best they had. Now, they brought in Deuce Robinson from USC, Squirrel White from Tennessee. So they really should be set at wide receiver. But I'm not sure that our little guy back there is going to be able to get the ball to him. I don't have a lot of confidence. The word has it that he is not very similar to, you talked about a quarterback earlier that wasn't faring well in practice. This guy is not faring well in practice either. So he's having a little trouble getting it to this receiver. So now it's kind of like, I wonder how that's going to work. O-line totally transfers. So, but they've got like seniors and juniors. But seniors and juniors, Mike, but they've never played with each other. And we all know O-line is all about camaraderie, playing together. I think the little guy's gonna be running around like a chicken with his head cut off. Total coordinator changes. They got the Gus Bus at OC. They got the defensive coordinator from Nebraska, Tony White. I mean, I just don't think, they might improve this year, maybe, but with all that I just talked about, the many changes that they've got, I think Roll Damn Tide's going to cover and win by at least 14 points in this game, Mike. So I will give you your shot, sir.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. This is one of those that you're so confident in it, and then the more you look at it, the more you start to question it, and then you start to try to find reasons why that you should change.
I,
I didn't
I
do it.
did.
I didn't do it,
You,
but
you
I
did do
was
good
close.
job.
It's
Good
a lot.
job.
It's a lot of points. I was close, but I'm not
A lot of
doing it.
points.
I am gonna go Alabama minus the 13.5. I think they should get it done pretty convincingly. We talked about the game earlier, how that one felt like it maybe was 31-13 before that shifted. I think this one's like 31-13. It's a 3:30 game. They were not able to get a night game there in Doak Campbell Stadium. This is the first time Alabama is ever going to play Florida State in Tallahassee. Fun fact there. But unfortunately for Florida State, they're playing them at a very bad time in the year. Alabama is pretty good in week one. They've won their last 23 season openers. They're 18-5 against the spread in those games. They are 6-2 straight up in they are 8-2 straight up in their last 10 games versus ACC opponents. And this is just the fifth time that they've ever played Florida State, so you can't really look at too much there. I'm with you. I'm more so fading Florida State rather than kind of backing Alabama and having full faith in Alabama. They do have running back Jam Miller back. He's going to be a stud for them, I think. Ty Simpson, quarterback, he should be a typical Alabama game manager quarterback. He can go run and get you a first down if you need it, but he's going to get it to the playmakers and make them do something with it. Ryan Williams on the outside, arguably the second, maybe the best wide receiver in the nation, you could argue potentially. And then you got an Isaiah Horton transfer from Miami on the other side. He's absolutely huge, 6'4", 210. So you got a big target for Simpson on the outside, and then you got Ryan Williams that can kind of do everything like a Jamar Chase, in relationship kind of there. They do have a good, experienced offensive line. My biggest thing here, again, is kind of going back to the extracurricular side of it. Castellanos, the quarterback, did a lot of chirping. This offseason about what they were going to do to this Alabama team and how they were going to show everybody this, that, and the third. Alabama is going to 100% be ready for this one. You mentioned that offensive line not necessarily having the chemistry that they may need to go against a front seven like this Alabama team. I'm 100% with you on the same page. You can be experienced as you want to, but if you don't do your job, if the guy next to you doesn't do your job, that's going to get blown up real quick. And Alabama is one of those teams, Saban or not, they are going to get after the quarterback, and they're going to do it fast and relentless all game long. I've seen, we were talking about quarterbacks again struggling in camp. I have seen some videos with Castellanos having issues. He is a little guy. He is short. He's having issues kind of finding his receivers and finding the pockets over his offensive line with really no defensive pressure whatsoever coming towards him. So, when you do have those front seven blue chippers that you mentioned at Alabama that are going to just be hounding on him, he's going to be running a lot. And is he going to even last the full game? Is he going to be, he said some wild stuff about this Alabama team this offseason. So they're coming for him. I'm telling you. Give me Alabama to win, get the cover. I think it might be a good game. Close, potentially. Florida State has weapons. You mentioned it. They got skill position on wide receiver. They had a bunch of guys come in. Mike Norvell did what he does. He went out and got guys in the transfer portal to try to reload, to try to make up for that season that he had, that he went undefeated. The problem is, you mentioned it as well, he doesn't have Jordan Travis at quarterback anymore. And without him, what did you say? He was 4-18 without Jordan Travis at quarterback. You need a quarterback. The problem is, I do like Thomas Castellanos. I've talked about him before. He's very comparable, I think, to like a Kyler Murray in terms of size and skill set, but he's not Kyler Murray. And the problem is, if they started the season against a cupcake and they started the season maybe 2 weeks worth that they could kind of get the plans, get the gears rolling, and then play Alabama at home at a 3:30 game, okay, maybe. Week 1 going in there like that, I think it's going to be ugly. Kalen DeBoer, the head coach for Bama, he's got everything to prove. He is one of the his seat is currently probably the hottest in the NFL, which unfortunately he's following up for probably the greatest college coach of all time in Nick Saban. So the expectations are pretty high, but he's got to perform. You lose to this Florida State team that did as bad as they did last year, that's not a good way to keep your job right there. So they have to win this game. I think they get the cover. Give me the tie, Dave.
I like it. Hey, shout out to Linda as well as my nephew Reese Guerin from Memphis, Tennessee, by way of Arkansas. All right. Next game. Now, Mike, can we do Texas, Ohio State?
Now, Dave. Now is the time. Biggest game of potentially the year, but definitely week 1.
Yes. 1 versus 2. So, Texas at Ohio State. Ohio State is current favorite at 1.5 points. Over under at 47.5. So, this is about as big a coin flip. I've been up, down, all around on this one all week. It's an interesting game for sure. So, Texas comes in 11-1 last year and made the playoff. They're ranked number 1 now. But they were only 8-8 against the spread last year. So Ohio State obviously won it all. They were 10-2. They lost a couple games, right? They couldn't beat freaking Michigan. Ooh, all the Ohio State people don't like that, but it's true. They're ranked number 2 in most of the polls. Texas returns 9 starters, 3 on offense, 6 on defense. Blue chip ratio of 78%. Of course, we have Golden Boy finally going to start for an entire season. Arch Manning comes in at quarterback. Last year, he threw for 939, 9 TDs, 2 interceptions. Obviously, high expectations, Heisman Trophy list, potential NFL draft, blah, 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 blah. So, now, one thing I think that's important everyone knows, he started like at least 2, if not 3 games last year. Okay, so he's got some time under his belt. So, very important, kind of the thing that might have swayed me a little bit. Texas should be dominant front 7 on defense. They got an All-American lineman, Colin Simmons. I mean, that defensive line's going to give Ohio State's line some fits. They're going to be in the backfield quite a bit. Cole Brevard, Murad Watson, they're there. Quintravian Wisner and C.J. Baxter healthy in the backfield in the rushing attack with Mr. Manning back there. So I think this team is obviously they're loaded for bear. Ohio State comes in. They return 9 starters, 6 on offense, 3 on defense. Blue chip ratio of 89%, very similar to Alabama. Starting quarterbacks, Julian Sain. Obviously, he's 4-star recruit, depending on which service you look at. But he's only 5 of 12 for 84 yards, and he hasn't started a game yet. This is going to be his first career start against a team that's got a damn good defense. Ohio State lost 6 O-linemen last year. 6 O-line and D linemen starters, so 3 on both sides of the ball. Running back, they lost 2 stud running backs, Junkins and Henderson, both in the NFL now. They're going to depend on James Peoples out of San Antonio. He's a 4-star. He had 197 yards last year. So we'll see how he does, maybe, right? Defense, looking pretty good. They got the best player on the defense right now in the nation, so they say, Caleb Downs. 48 solo tackles, 2 interceptions, and a fumble recovery last year. They got linebacker named Sonny Styles, 49 solo tackles, 6 sacks, and a fumble recovery, so they're strong as well. So obviously, when you're talking about number 1 and number 2, it's a big dot deal. But in my opinion, the thing, like I said, that's going to sway me a bit is a little bit with Arch Manning's started before and that defense getting to the quarterback. I just think I'm gonna I'm gonna take 1.5 points, Mike, here and go with Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to go against them, right? I mean, you mentioned everything. They got a chip on their shoulder with a revenge game from last year. They played in the college football playoff. Ohio State knocked them off on their way to winning the national championship. So this is a revenge spot for sure. But you mentioned the fact that Arch Manning, started a few games last year. He did, but the games that he started were against Louisiana Monroe, I think Mississippi State. He had some stats against Texas San Antonio, Colorado State, but against kind of those were the first 4 games, kind of there. And then he got into real SEC play against Georgia, went just 3 for 6 for 19 yards. He got sacked twice. He had 4 rushes for -1 yards against your Gators, which a game they won 49-17. He was just 3 for 6 for 19 yards again. Didn't have a single carry in that one. Against Texas A&M, didn't throw the ball, had 3 carries for 14 yards. Against Georgia, the second time, didn't throw it at all. Only had 1 carry for 5 yards. Against Clemson in the playoffs, didn't throw it. He had 3 carries for 0 yards. Against Ohio State in the playoffs, didn't throw the ball 1 time, had 1 carry for 8 yards. So his stats look really good. 939 yards last year, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 68% completion, over 100 yards rushing on the year, 4 touchdowns. But when you really break it down, he really didn't play anybody to put your hat on too well. And for me, that's kind of the biggest thing with Arch Manning dating back to high school even. Yes, the talent is there 100%. But in terms of who he's gone against, in terms of competition, I'm not a full believer yet. So I think this is a massive, massive, massive test. I've seen a lot of people basically say that if Texas goes and wins this game, you might as well give the Heisman winner the trophy to Arch Manning right there, because so many people want him anyway to win in terms of the media and, just overall what that would do in terms of spotlight for the sport. That basically if he wins this game at the Horseshoe, first start ever, it's kind of his to lose for the rest of the year. If they were to win out or kind of handle business, it's his to win. And I tend to agree. This is a much bigger game, in my opinion, for Arch Manning's legacy and Texas this year. First time as a number 1 in preseason, believe it or not. Crazy for Texas and the history that they've had. That's wild. So this is a massive expectation that's been put on this football team for this year. Whereas on the flip side, you have Ohio State, who's coming off a national championship, much more relaxed now. Ryan Day was on the hot seat, which was ridiculous when you break it down, because in his 7 years that he's been at Ohio State, he's 70-10 overall in games there. In home games there, he's 39-3. Away games, 23-3. Against top 25 opponents, 24-9. He does this. He picked right up where Urban Meyer left off, and he's done nothing but win and carry that torch. And now he's finally beaten Michigan. He finally got over that hump. He couldn't do it. He finally won a national championship. He couldn't do it. He finally got over that hump. Now you're getting a much more relaxed Ryan Day, I think, in my opinion, to where he can walk around campus. He can walk around those facilities, and nobody can really tell him anything. His job is safe now. His job is secure. Now he can go enjoy coaching again and go out and do what he needs to do. The one thing for Ohio State, though, they are replacing both their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator. Brian Hartline's taking over at OC. He was their wide receivers coach, and they're bringing in Matt Patricia, the old Patriots head coach, or defensive coordinator, and Lions head coach, to take over as defensive coordinator for them this season. So that'll be interesting how that pairs into it. The more that you were breaking down the game, I really kind of was leaning towards changing my pick. I'm going to stay with it. I'm going to still rock with Ohio State money line here. But I really think it's probably going to be the under. I think both of these teams are going to heavily rely on their defense to put pressure on the opposing quarterback, make it tough for them in their first real start. You mentioned it for saying it's his first start ever. For Arch Manning, this is going to be his first real test of a start against real competition in a real hostile environment. So I totally expect these defenses to bring pressure all game long, make it hard for them. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it could end up being like a 14-13, 24-23 type of game, to where it's crazy the numbers. Once you start following these numbers, you'll see this 1.5 that it's sitting at right now. Don't be surprised if it ends up a 1-point game when it's all said and done. So it's going to be that close. So I am going to stick with the Buckeyes, but I do think the under potentially is also something to look at there.
Yeah, it was one that I considered strongly, like before I finally honed in on Texas. I was thinking under as well. So I think that's a nice little side bet for sure. Unfortunately, it's a noon game, and I won't be across the Florida line in time to make that bet. So,
noon game is crazy. We gotta. What's up?
It is.
We got to stop this money grab. All right, big noon kickoff. Who gives it should not be number 1, number 3 at 12 o'clock to start the season.
Fox,
that should not be the
Fox
first game.
The Big Ten.
Terrible. That should be a prime time.
Yeah.
You're sitting back, relaxed after a long day. That's terrible. We got to do better. We got to do better, Dave.
It is. All right, the game. Mike's game. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish are headed to South Florida. They're getting 2.5 points, Mike, on your Canes. Over under is 49.5. All right. This is the game. Notre Dame last year obviously finished 14-2 with the big loss to Ohio State in the national championship game, 34-23. Notre Dame comes in. They've got a number 7 ranked offense by PFF, so just kind of an interesting stat. However, they've got a redshirt freshman starting the game, which I can't figure that one out. The guy has never started a game. So, and by the way, little tidbit, Mike, bet you didn't know this, but CJ Carr's grandfather, ex-Michigan Wolverine coach Lloyd Carr.
Wow.
Little nugget. A little unknown nugget. All right. He was 15-23 for 163 in the spring blue and gold game. That's the only stat I can come up with Mr. Carr. So that's all I could get. He played for a bit in the Purdue game last year, but didn't even throw a pass. Obviously the offense for the Irish is going to revolve around the run game, and Jeremiah Love, probably the best running back. So folks say at this point, probably coming into this year. They also got Jadarian Price, who's a stud as well. So they're going to be running. And on the defensive side of the ball, that's kind of where the Irish hold a bit of an advantage, I think, in my opinion. They returned 10 starters from the defense from last year, so almost the entire defense. So that tells me, Miami's going to have. They're going to have to push it to really score points in this game. Miami finished the regular season last year at 10-2, just outside of that ACC championship game and outside the playoffs. They were right there. So they bring in Carson back from Georgia. for $4 million. They're saying he's third best quarterback in the ACC. We'll see how it goes. So last year for the Dogs, he had 34.85, 65%, 28 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. And the thing that folks have to remember that, I'm not the greatest fan of either of these teams, but and you throw in the Dogs as well, but the Dogs had the highest percentage of drop passes in all of NCAA Division One last year. Okay, so they did him no freaking favors last year. I honestly believe it's a good call bringing him back. I think he's going to do relatively well for the Canes. I mean, I've got him going 9-3 and coming in second. We'll see how that goes. Canes got a Blues chip ratio of 64%, which is good. The big loss, obviously, they lost a wide receiver. He went somewhere to one of these teams that we talked about earlier, right, Mike? Who was it? Where'd he go? Your receiver. Can't remember.
Isaiah Horton. He went to Bama.
There you go. And obviously, they lost Miami's number one all-time receiver in Restrepo that went to the NFL. Okay? So he's got to have some guys step up. They brought in some transfer guys that they're hoping can make it happen at this point. I think this is going to be the Canes' toughest game all year, without a doubt. The good thing is they're playing it at home. And I just think anything goes in this game at this point. I've gone back and forth trying to figure out really where I wanted to go at this point. The other bit of a disadvantage that I think that Miami has here is they lost Martinez at running back. That guy was pretty good. So I think that has an effect on the game as well. So as I look at the numbers, my final call here is that I don't think it's going to be a very high scoring game. I kind of look a little bit like Mike talked about in the previous game. I think with Miami's defense being really pretty good and the fact that Notre Dame is starting a redshirt freshman at quarterback, that it's going to be a little bit lower scoring game. So, Mike, I'm going the under 49.5. Talk to me about why your Canes are going to win.
I think it's probably a pretty good pick there, Gator Dave. I do think my Canes are going to win. And here is why. All right. You mentioned Damian Martinez, losing him at running back. Yes, he had 1,000 yards last year on the ground, 10 touchdowns. But you know what his backups did, Gator Dave? Mark Fletcher and Jordan Lyle at 2 and 3 combined for 1,000 yards and combined for 11 touchdowns last year. As the second and third string, they are moving up the depth chart. They are starting and they are back up now. They are going to run the rock down Notre Dame because guess what, Gator Dave? We talked about it at the very beginning of the show. Boise State and South Florida. It's a little cold, a little chilly up there in South Bend, Indiana right now, Gator Dave. No humidity up there in South Bend, Indiana. I bet it's beautiful right now. You know what it is in Miami right now? 90 degrees with on and off rain, 90% humidity, and it's going to be a 7:30 kickoff in Miami. After a full day of on and off rain and stickiness, it's gonna suck for those Midwestern guys. I think Miami does enough to get it done at home. They are conditioned for this. They are ready for this. Carson Beck, this is the best offensive line and skill position players that he's going to have around him since being in college, and that's saying a lot considering he was at Georgia. And when he was at Georgia, I believe his record was like 24 and 3. Everybody gives him so much discredit for or so much credit for all of the losses, but no credit for any of the wins. He had 28 touchdowns and 12 interceptions last year. Guess who also had that same amount? Garrett Nussmeier. And Garrett Nussmeier is now all of a sudden a Heisman contender, first-round draft pick, and Carson Beck is going to go undrafted, and now he's one of the ugliest ducklings. No. Carson Beck is going to make a statement. He's going to have a Cam Ward type year and put his prospect right back into the first round. This is where it starts. National primetime TV, Sunday night, only game on. There's 2 games all day Sunday. It leads up perfectly. That stadium is going to be rocking. They're doing an orange out. Whole stadium should be decked out in orange. Mario Cristobal has already called for it to be as wild and crazy as possible. That is not, that is not what you tell Miami fans, okay? Ian Book, the quarterback for Notre Dame in 2017, when we beat them 41-8 in a top 10 matchup in Miami, said that I'm not going to say we because that wasn't me, but a Miami fan threw a beer bottle at their bus and shattered their bus window when going into the stadium. And that stadium, he said, was the loudest stadium that he's ever played in his entire college football career, including games at SEC stadiums such as UGA, Gator Dave. So I think this stadium, I really somewhat regret not going to this game. The closer that we're getting to it, because the environment and the energy is going to be insane. But it will be too when we go for the Miami and Florida Gator game. But it's going to be absolutely intense and crazy, and I can't wait to see it. I hope TV does it justice. Turn your TVs up, turn your surround sound up, get the full experience. Give me the Canes plus 2.5. I think they get the outright win in a barn burner, great game, stressful game. I think they find a way to get it done, and the main reason being is the quarterback on the opposite side. You mentioned C.J. Carr, redshirt freshman, never started before in an environment like this. It is going to rattle him. The defense and the defensive coordinator that we brought in, Corey Heatherman, he's all about putting pressure on the quarterback and forcing them to get the ball out and early and making bad decisions. They're 100% going to do that with this quarterback. The only way I think that Notre Dame really beats Miami is Jeremiah Love, the running back. As long as we can contain Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame will be able to do nothing on offense. If Jeremiah Love goes for 150 plus, 200 plus, like he easily can because he's a potential Heisman Trophy candidate, Miami's got a real problem on its hands. They have to contain the run. It all starts there. I think we'll be able to do it. We have the pieces on defense to do it. You mentioned it. Carson Beck has all the tools around him. It's setting up perfect for him. Go shock the world. Give me the Canes with the upset Sunday night, Gator Dave, to start the season Mike, with a bang.
I like all that, Mike. But you said one thing. You said there's no other games on that night. But Mike, you know who's playing the Long Island University Sharks at 7 p.m., Mike?
I don't, Dave. I really don't.
Mike, the Florida Gators are playing the Long Island University Sharks. So
there is another game, Dave. On. This is the only game on.
There's another
Sunday
game.
Night. There's a reason it's on ABC, and the game that Dave's talking about isn't on anything. You can't find it anywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not on ESPN Plus. Nobody wants to watch that. Nah, you don't know that. You don't know that. ABC is where you're gonna find the game that matters. Okay. Give us all your support. You know you want to. Nobody likes the Irish. Their time has come and gone. Miami's time has come back. Okay? It's time. This is it. This is the game to start it all. Start the season off right. I will say I have Notre Dame not losing a single game after this game all year long. So if they do somehow find a way to get out of Miami with a victory, look for Notre Dame to have a walk-in to the playoff. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, Gator Dave. Miami's going to do it. Miami's going to get it done. Book it. Book it, Dano.
Looking forward to that one because I'll be sitting there watching. I'll be scoreboard watching that and watching Lagley throw bombs. So,
all right, throwing up the recap real quick of our picks that we did, so we can go through. We don't need to talk about last week. That's okay. We're gonna just focus on this week and moving forward.
Wait a minute. Wait, you didn't put up last week, Mike. I mean, And one thing you
No, it's
probably
there.
left out
It's
about
there.
last week was
It's
we
there.
got to remind everybody my bonus game. I gave them a bonus game that
No, we're
hit
not. We don't need
the
to remind
over.
anybody
Mike,
that because it doesn't matter. It's not on. It's not on the board. It's not on the board. All right. So I'm going South Florida. You're going Boise State. I got Baylor. You got Auburn. And then we are on the same. So that's what that means. On the green ones are the games that I'm on solo. For everybody who's watching on the video, if you're on the podcast, make sure to check out the video for the recap if you need it. The recap graphic. If games are green, they're my picks. If games are blue, they are Gator Dave's. If games are orange, it's games that we are and like-minded about. So that's where we are with the TCU, Indiana, Georgia Tech, Alabama, Clemson. That one is a mess up on the graphic because we're actually butting heads. I'm on Ohio State. Gator Dave is on Texas. And then the last one, I got Miami plus 2.5, and Gator Dave is on the under 49.5.
and if people remember last year, those orange games did pretty well last year, if I'm not mistaken. So those could be winner chicken dinners. So
Yes.
boom.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So,
make sure to please like, comment, and subscribe again if you haven't already. It takes 2 seconds, but it really helps us out. If you're listening on podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, wherever you're at, make sure to give us a nice good rating, download it, mark it as finished, send it to your friends, talk some mess to us in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us what games you want to talk about next week moving forward, because we'll be making the list for that in the next few days. So if you want to see any specific games, make sure to drop a comment on the YouTube channel for the matchup that you want us to talk about. Gator Dave, anything you wanna throw out there?
My expectation from my capstone friends, especially those in the class we're having at what we call Capstone U, I expect the subscriptions to go up after they listen to tonight's game. So please make sure you do subscribe to Gator Dave Miami
sounds like
Mike's
extortion.
Bets Utopia. Huh?
Sounds like a little bit extortion. I got you, Capstone people. I got you.
That's right.
I got you.
That's right.
I call it as I see it.
Oh, look who joined there at the end. We got Mr. Hindu joined at the end. But, thanks for everybody being on. I promise great. Excited about this week coming up that we're finally here after all these months. And we appreciate the support. Look forward to see what happens this week. Mike is gonna sit on the couch and watch his team. He should have never sold them tickets, but he probably made a lot of money. And I'll be in the swamp, and give me a go Gators.
Hey, we gotta fund that Florida Miami trip to South Beach in a few weeks somehow. All right, we got to do what we got to do. Can't be everywhere at once, Dave. As much as we want to. All right, I'll be there in spirit. I'll feel it. I'll feel it. I'll feel it. I'll crave it and I'll miss it, but I'll feel it. All right, Gator Dave.
Thanks
everybody for watching. We appreciate you. See you next week. Y'all